1. The Haunted House. In 2016, a family of 4 decided to spend a weekend at an Airbnb in rural Kentucky. They wanted a peaceful break in the countryside to relax and enjoy nature. Everything seemed fine when they booked the place, but things changed when they arrived. Right away, they felt something was off. The house felt too cold, even though the weather outside was normal. They also couldn't shake the creepy feeling that someone was watching them. As the evening turned into night, strange things started happening. The family heard noises they couldn't explain, knocking sounds and footsteps in empty rooms. Doors would open and close by themselves. Even worse, they started to see ghostly shapes moving in the shadows. These things scared the family so much that they decided to find out more about the house. After some online research, they found disturbing news. Years ago, a murder-suicide happened in that same house. A couple had been aggressively killed by their own son, who was later sent to a psychiatric hospital after being found guilty. Learning this horrified the family. They were shocked to discover they had been sleeping in a house with such a terrible past. They quickly packed their things and left in the middle of the night, ending their trip early. When they reached out to the homeowner, they were told that the owner knew about the murder but chose not to tell them. This upset the family even more. They had trusted that the rental would be safe and peaceful, but instead they were left frightened and deeply shaken. This experience reminded them that even places that look calm and beautiful can hide dark secrets. It also showed how important it is to know the full truth before staying in a stranger's home. 2. We rented an Airbnb. Then the host's son tried to crawl into bed with us. My boyfriend and I stayed in an apartment that belonged to a woman who lived right upstairs. When we arrived, she came down to greet us and spent the first 10 minutes talking about how she was a single mother raising 3 kids while still managing to earn money through Airbnb. My boyfriend, who was exhausted and jet-lagged from the long flight, just nodded politely while she spoke. As soon as she left, we got into bed to rest for the night. Early the next morning, I woke up because I felt something tugging on our blankets. At first, I thought maybe an animal had somehow gotten into the room. But when I opened my eyes, I was shocked to see a little boy, around 7 years old, climbing onto the blanket. He was clearly trying to crawl into bed with us. At first, I had no idea who he was or what was going on. I was too stunned to react and just said, hello? Moments later, the woman who owned the apartment came downstairs. She casually explained that the boy was her son and said something like, "Oh yeah, he does that sometimes." That was her only explanation. She told us that when the lower apartment was not being rented out to guests, she usually let her children go in and out of it whenever they wanted. Apparently, they treated it like an extra playroom. What really disturbed me, though, was the fact that the apartment door had been locked. There was no clear answer as to how her son got inside. It also made no sense why he thought it was okay to crawl into bed with 2 strangers. It left us feeling uncomfortable and unsafe for the rest of our stay. 3. A ghost that loved doing laundry. I stayed at a nice Airbnb in Iowa for my little brother's graduation. He didn't know I was coming, so we threw a surprise party. While setting up, my older brother and I went to the basement to get an extra table. As soon as we stepped down there, we looked at each other and said, "This place feels creepy." The longer we stayed, the more uncomfortable I felt. We got the table and joked about how weird the basement felt for such a normal-looking house. Later during the party, my girlfriend decided to do a load of laundry in the basement. She asked me to go with her because the basement creeped her out. I rushed down and back up as fast as I could. It definitely felt spooky now. A while later, the laundry buzzer went off. My girlfriend told me she never took the clothes out. That was strange since hours had passed without the buzzer going off earlier. She asked me to go first down the stairs. As I did, the washer buzzed again suddenly. We both jumped. I grabbed the clothes and we brought them upstairs to dry. The house was old, and the bedroom we slept in used to be an attic. To turn on the lights upstairs, you had to use a switch at the bottom of the stairs. As I flipped the switch and started up, I heard a loud banging, like pots or metal hitting something. I headed to the kitchen to grab a knife, but then heard the noise upstairs. It was the ceiling fan spinning at full speed and hitting its mount. I turned it off and went to bed. The next morning, as we packed, the washer buzzed again. Right after that, the fan upstairs started banging again. We ran to the car and left as fast as we could. 4. The farmhouse that felt abandoned. A Reddit user shared a strange and unsettling experience at an Airbnb rental that looked like it hadn't been lived in for weeks. They had booked to stay on a farm owned by a woman who seemed friendly and had great reviews, almost 5 stars. Her most recent 5-star rating was just 1 or 2 weeks before the guest's arrival, and she was very responsive when they first made the booking. Everything seemed fine until 2 days before check-in, when the host stopped replying. The guests didn't think much of it since they'd been camping and had poor mobile phone reception, but they expected the house to be ready. They arrived at the farm just before dark. At first, the silence made sense. It was a farm after all. But things quickly started to feel off. The farm, which was supposed to have animals like chickens and a horse, had none. The chicken coop was empty, and there was no sign of a horse. Even more concerning, the house doors were wide open and all the lights were off. Dry cat food sat untouched in a bowl, but no cats were in sight. Inside the house, it looked like someone left in a hurry. Blankets were scattered on the bed, a half-inflated air mattress was on the floor, and random items were spread across the kitchen island. When they tried turning on the lights, nothing happened. The water from the faucet barely came out, as if it hadn't been used in a long time. The smell from the refrigerator was horrible, like spoiled food had been sitting there for days. Frightened and confused, the guests and their group decided not to stay. They quickly left and drove to the nearest city to find a hotel for the night. 5. A spider-filled nightmare in Sweden. While traveling alone through Sweden, a tourist booked a small and affordable Airbnb near Stockholm. Hoping for a peaceful stay, they arrived in a quiet neighborhood and found the house to be simple, not as nice as previous places, but still okay for a short visit. Things changed quickly that night. The bedroom had a low ceiling and felt a bit cramped, but the tourist tried to settle in. While lying in bed, they noticed a single spider on the ceiling. Trying to stay calm, they assumed it was just a lonely spider and decided not to worry. They turned off the light and tried to fall asleep. Suddenly, the tourist felt something crawling on their skin. Alarmed, they turned the light back on and were shocked to see a spider moving across their body. Panic set in as they looked up and realized that the ceiling was covered with spiders of many different sizes. For someone who has a fear of spiders, it was a terrifying moment. Too scared to stay in the bedroom, the tourists grabbed their things and rushed downstairs to sleep on the sofa. But even there, they could not relax. The shock of what they'd just seen was too much to forget. That night ruined the rest of the trip. The next morning, the tourist ended the stay early and left the house. What was supposed to be a cozy visit turned into a disturbing and unforgettable experience. These Airbnb horror stories remind us to always be careful when booking. If you enjoyed the scares, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more true stories.